Hi, my name is Kenyana Blount, and I am going to be talking to you about my instruction design using online learning. And I have that I'm going to display will be my outline and three-column chart and basically the questions, not necessarily the outline, the three-column chart, as well as my online classroom that I'll be using Schoology with. So I'll start here. And this kind of just goes through um, this subject matter, which is small group instruction. And the way my online learning is going to work is going to be a part of a new teacher boot camp. I have worked as a new teacher mentor before, so I will be using this to take one part of it, one component of the new teacher boot camp, and use that for my online learning. So it will be adult education as it will be my peers, but it is intended for secondary teachers with less than 1 year of experience as a certified classroom teacher, or teachers looking to enter education. They may not be certified yet, but if they do join our campus, they will be a part or included in our campus improvement plan. So the key documents that they'll need, of course, to be successful would be a copy of the TEKS of the content that they are teaching, because we will be using assessment data of each student to formulate our small groups. It would be important to know the actual content and knowledge and skills they're supposed to be getting. They will be getting their curriculum guidelines. They will have that, which usually tends to have the TEKS inside of it. So each district does supply. I know with language arts, we get our scope and sequence and our guidelines for the curriculum. So they will be able to go through that. And we will talk about our campus improvement plan, which is accessible through our Nights at the Round Table for my campus. And this illustrates the expectations of instruction practices outlined in the Portrait of a Kayla classroom. So, researching different approaches, I figured the situated learning design approach worked best with this, because teachers will be in their actual learning situation. While it is online, they will be using their classrooms and their students to kind of grow themselves in this area. This is a student-centered approach. Students do lead their own. It is kind of a work at your own pace, but they will be assessed intermittently as the appraisers do instructional walkthroughs. They will see how the teachers are implementing the tools that they got from the small group instruction lessons into their actual classrooms, and how they adjust and adapt using student data and the expectations. I decided this will be competency-based education, because the teachers will be provided with information assessed on their understanding. They will apply their new learning, as well as this will be something that is assessed through their appraisals in terms of competency. So it's not necessarily an outcome-based situation, but did they acquire the skill, and are they competent, learning, proficient, or skilled in this area? There will be formative assessment, which will be ongoing as teachers receive walkthroughs in their classrooms, usually on a bi-weekly, if not monthly basis. And then, of course, that will build them up for their big appraisal, their formal observation, where they will be seen using all of these components within their classroom. And that will be a part of their summative assessment. Sorry about that. So how will they move into deeper learning? They will kind of know the difference between small groups and conferring, when to use the two, how they work best, instead of just, I need to small group and putting that in a lesson plan, but knowing exactly when to small group, and when is it okay to, instead of small grouping with the student that may not be doing well, when it's time to confer with the student and set small goals, or to work with them individually instead of in a group setting. This is my three-column table. It is on the actual website that I have to be seen, the activities going forth in terms of that. So the overview and outline for this actual online learning, I titled it Small Talk, Chit Chat, Conferring in Small Groups. It does seem lengthy, but that's typically how we move around the classroom and build relationships. So I wanted to keep that relationship component involved. But they will first start with an overview, where they will read an excerpt of Jennifer Zavallo's reading conferences. Although it does say reading, the way that she outlines conferring and small grouping can work with any content. They will define what are small groups and what aren't small groups, what is conferring and what isn't conferring. They will discuss and kind of will discuss this within that first module: who, what, when, where, how, and why. I don't know why I moved the H before the W, but it just happened. So we will use that as well to think about how do we start using this in our classrooms. And we will work together on a notice and note discussion post in terms of watching a video clip of reading conferences from the online resource with Jennifer Cervalos, and we will do a quick notice and note discussion post. So we define small groups and conferences and describe how it would look in our classrooms using the assigned text excerpts, as well as the portrait of a Kayla classroom, just to kind of get in out just a brief overview of what it would look like to you as a teacher starting out using it, because it isn't something we immediately go into from the first week of school. It's something that we build and begin doing as we get to know our students. So once we figure out what it looks like, then we can start planning. So module 2 will go into a deeper dive of one-to-one conferring. I do think it's important that we talk about the one-to-one conferring component, because we do need to define what is conferring. Taking students from chit chat and small talk to a genuine learning experience, where we're not just how are you doing, how was your day, how's the dog, did you take out the trash this morning, but now we're talking about in terms of reading, inferring. How does that look? Having students read for fluency and talking to them about their reading level, and maybe even setting goals within their different contents. They will also again view a video clip of one-to-one conferring. And the discussion prompt is, why is one-to-one conferring effective, and how could it be effective in your classroom? Because sometimes we may look at it as one-to-one might work best instead of a small group, or maybe small group works best, but how can we make it effective in both scenarios? So then there's module 3, where we'll be taking an even deeper dive into small groups. That's when we will compare one-to-one conferring versus small groups. Then we'll turning small groups, of course, into more than a group meeting of all of us sitting there chit-chatting and small talking, but a genuine learning experience. When do we use these small groups? And I think it's important. I do want to move to the next point. How do we determine who should participate in small groups? I think we are often under the impression that if we're going to small group, it's best that we look at the students that perform lowly on certain TEKs. But sometimes it's good to even bring those students that may be performing at that bubble where they may have done okay, they met the expectation or approached the expectation. And then I think it's also sometimes really good to bring in those kids that have mastered the expectation into those small groups, because sometimes peer-to-peer learning is more effective than teacher-to-student learning. So seeing that kind of builds the collaborative learning experience where we're all working together. And it's not, I only work with the low kids and I don't work with the higher level kids. If I bring us all together, we can collaborate and cooperate in the learning. So how do we determine the effectiveness of small groups? So this is where we begin to model with a random group of student data. It's not your actual student data, but they will use that to kind of decide using the assessed TEKs, reteaching, conferring in small groups, and they'll decide who would I put in a small group, who would I confer with, and what TEKs might not need to small group or confer with, what might I actually need to reteach, just judging by the success rate of the TEKs that were assessed in an assessment. So they will get data that they can use and kind of aggregate and figure out what goes where and put those pieces together, which will then take us to module 4, which is student tracking anecdotal notes. This all goes apart with learning small groups and kind of discussing why we should track our students. This is TEK mastery, and if we need to do deeper intervention and remediation on certain TEKs or just learning concepts, period. And then we'll talk about how can you track your students. I am old school, so I definitely like to use a notebook and to write names, dates, what we did, what you said, how they participated, did they get it? But some people are more electronic, where you can have students sign in on a Google form that they did attend this small group and what they worked on, and show their assignment, put their grade in as like a sign in, and it creates an Excel sheet that saves for you in terms of what you worked on with that student that day. Were they successful? And so it kind of keeps an online tracking, and then creating your own cheat codes for note taking. Like if we're working on which TEK we're working on, maybe smiley faces or whatever it is that you would like to use for that. And so then we go back into the application. By now, students have demonstrated their understanding because most times it's after a DPM or benchmark or some unit assessment. Now we can use our own student data. So now we're at the you do, where you then begin thinking, okay, now how will I implement these tools that I got for small group, and use it with my students in my classroom, and to develop a rationale for bringing these students together. If you are appraised and someone walks in, well, why did you put that group together? You're able to explain, okay, well, this group worked really well with summarizing. So since that's what we're doing, I have them working on something else. So maybe you're pushing someone high in the higher order thinking or deeper in rigor is terms of the TEAC. So that is my implementation. And this is the actual course. Yes, I love gifts for all of my Schoology courses, but I have each module outlined as to what they'll be doing. And again, like I said, it's self-paced, so they can come in and as we are and just set a date, maybe a few weeks that they can go in and do these activities. And again, if they are participating in this, once they receive instructional walkthroughs, someone can see, okay, well, this person is participating in the small group cadre, or they are completing this. Let's see what they've gotten and kind of back it to what they've been taught and see if they are actually applying it. And they can get good, authentic feedback from appraisers and their coaches, and coaching them in the direction of how to use small groups, and not just a blind, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but, and then I'm getting feedback that no one is really helping me with. So, as I said, or I might not have said, but this would definitely be a part of, if I can go back up, the small group instruction modules will be a part of the new teacher boot camp. These teachers will be a part of a new teacher cadre by which they will participate in various learning activities to get acclimated with instructional practice and acculturated with campus norms. Below, you will see the tentative timeline for the small group instruction course as a part of this new teacher boot camp. So this is what they will be doing. In each grading period, we'll probably implement another area that our new teachers, we would like them to be showing mastery in. So, but this is the first grading periods learning. So hopefully this all makes sense, and I will definitely value any feed forward or feedback to help improve this assignment.